Hey guys, James here today, and we are going to be talking about The Sims. What a shock on the Sim supply. Who would have thought that there'd be this breaking news, unbelievable revelation that we're going to be discussing The Sims. So I asked you guys over on Twitter and on the community tab here on YouTube what you want to see out of The Sims for 2019. I've seen a few other people making videos about what they want to see in the game and sort of how they want to see the game go this year. But I thought I'd ask you guys, put it out to everyone out there to see what you guys are generally looking for. So I took some of the more popular answers, I compiled a list, and we're basically going to discuss all of them, what makes them cool, I guess how likely they're going to be, and generally just hope that we get some of them. So I'm going to basically work my way from the bottom of my list to the top, so we'll have the most popular last, because then we can, save the best to last. So the first thing on my list is hotel management in a beach/tropical world. Now, this is kind of like Island Paradise in The Sims 3. That was all about a tropical world. It was island, and you could own and run resorts there, which are basically hotels. So I think people want something kind of like that. I mean, we've got a lot of business management in the game already in terms of we can run a vet, we can open up a retail store, we can run a restaurant. So we can already do like pretty interesting things with that whole system. So I think it's not unlikely that at some point they'll do some sort of hotel management system. I really hope they do, because I actually really enjoyed that in The Sims 3. I loved being able to buy up all the resorts on the island and then, own all of them and turn them all into my empire. So I feel like that's something that's probably... It's potential. It's got potential to actually happen. I think that'd be pretty cool. I mean, there's not much else to say about it. I think it's pretty self-explanatory. And as far as a tropical/beach world, I mean, I feel like we're overdue for that anyway, because we've got pretty much every other world under our belt at this point. We've got mountainous, we've got desert, we've got like spooky, country, European. We're just missing the tropical/beach world. And now the next one I actually found this kind of funny. This is actually pretty highly rated, and I can see why. It says, prices cut by 90% on all DLCs and the game. Look, I'm not going to argue with that. That would be awesome. However, in terms of realism of that actually happening, at least permanently, unlikely. However, they do a lot of sales all over the time, so definitely look out for sales of the game being 90% cheaper. But at the end of the day, realistically speaking, it's a business. I don't think they're going to be selling packs 90% less than they already do. As great as that would be, and I'm not complaining, and I'm not saying they shouldn't do it. They should. I'm just saying they probably won't. So don't get your hopes too high up on that one. Now, this one's actually really interesting, and I had a really long discussion about this, I think, on one of my live streams. So we're talking about Sims with disabilities, specifically ones in wheelchairs, and we sort of discussed how that would work, why it'd be interesting and all that. And I think it's something that's really important for The Sims, and I hope at some point they actually do it. And I know Sim Guru Grant has actually discussed doing like wheelchair stuff before, and they've definitely discussed it, and they want to find the best way to do it. And I think it's super important because The Sims has always been a super inclusive game, especially now more than ever. We have all the gender options, you can be whoever you want, all that kind of stuff. People can represent themselves in the game. However, there's obviously a subset of people that cannot do that. And while wheelchairs obviously doesn't cover everyone, it's definitely something that we've never seen in the game before, and it would obviously allow a lot of people to be able to see themselves properly. And it's also just generally interesting. It's something different, but it definitely presents an interesting design challenge, because obviously the whole Sims game, the Sims world, hasn't been designed with, wheelchair access in mind. So then the question basically becomes, Sim Guru Grant had brought this up as well, the question becomes, how do we make the world acceptable for wheelchairs? Like, do we just, teleport the Sims up and down stairs? Do we animate the stairs turning into a slope or something? Obviously, they'd be pretty steep, but, suspension of disbelief, that would work that way, that kind of stuff. So they've definitely discussed it, which is exciting, and I hope at some point they do it. At the very least, they're definitely open to it. I think at this point, it's just a matter of them finding a way to be able to do it properly. But I think it would be super great to see that. So the next one is story progression of unplayed Sims. I think this has been a shame to see go since The Sims 3. And to be honest, it's not something I really noticed until recently, since I've been doing a lot more sort of story-based elements in my Let's Plays. I just realized how no one else changes in the world. They kind of, they change, they age up, and then they die, but they never do anything else with their lives. They never change careers, they never get promoted, they never get married, have kids. They would just sort of stay in the exact state they are until they're dead, or you interact with them and change that stuff yourself. So all that kind of stuff would be awesome to be able to see back in the game. I don't know how likely that is, probably very unlikely at this point. To see them add that back in, which is unfortunate, but that would be really, really good to see, just to give the world more life and character, because basically at the moment it seems like you're in a world I guess you think of it as like the Truman Show, right? You're in a world, everything around you is basically scripted and is set. That's what's going to happen. That's how it's going to be. And it doesn't change unless you go and change it yourself, which on one hand is good because it means it will stay exactly how you've set it up. But on the other hand, there should still be an option to let it do its own thing. So that'd be awesome to see. I don't know if that will be coming though. Now, this next one is actually, this became popular around the time that the community was voting on the stuff pack that we all created together, which was the Laundry Day stuff pack, which, by the way, best stuff pack ever, created by the community. Hello, we know what we want. So this one was the eco-friendly pack. This was, I think, one of the options in the poll anyway, and it sort of became popular from there. So the idea behind this one is you could have stuff like solar panels, solar lights, like wind turbines, basically to generate your own power and then, reduce your household bills that way. So that's how that would sort of impact it that way. And then you could have other stuff like a composting bin, which would create fertilizer to do your own gardening. So basically you could grow your own food, create your own power, all that kind of stuff sort of rolling together. Like, it's not too many big items. It's like a small enough concept that I think it could go into a stuff pack, potentially a game pack. But having said that, I feel like the likelihood of that is probably not that high in terms of a pack by itself, maybe in with another pack, just because, I mean, we haven't seen a stuff pack since My First Pet Stuff, and we haven't really had a game pack since Jungle Adventure, which is nearly a year ago, I think. So I don't know, man. Like, as a standalone pack, I don't know about that. Maybe rolled into another expansion or a game pack or something like that potentially. But I think it's also just another fun way to play because you could properly play off the grid then as well. Like, if there was a way to just manually shut off your power from the grid, I think that'd be a lot of fun, right? So essentially, if you don't generate enough power, maybe some appliances don't work. Like, you can't use a TV because you don't have enough power, or the fridge stops working because you're not making enough. That kind of stuff. That'd be fun. Or even if we had like rainwater tanks or something like that as well. If it doesn't rain enough, you don't have enough fresh water. And then, I don't know, like that could be a lot of fun, like interesting challenges, like new ways to play, which would be kind of cool. Now, this next one is basically just a giant category. This is just build mode. General build mode stuff that people want to see. These are all sort of the most popular suggestions that I gathered from what people said. And I think I'll sort of work same way through this little list that I am with the bigger list, going from the least to most requested in that order. Something that I'm really passionate about, I'm glad someone mentioned it, was the ability to lower items with move objects on. So at the moment, if you enter the move objects cheat, you can actually make an item float up into the air and you can move it up as far as you want, but you can't actually move it down. And that didn't really used to be an issue until they added in terrain editing, because now when you have a hillside and you try to place something on it, you might notice that it starts like floating off half of the hill, and you can't make it sit in the terrain. If we had a way to move the object down and sink it below the ground level, that would work just fine. And actually the same thing applies to like mirrors or something like that. We can move mirrors up, but we can never move them down. So they're always stuck at that same sort of height. And I think it's the same with, there's a few other items as well that are kind of like that, where you just can't move them further down, where if we had that ability, it would be really, really handy. This next one is glass walls. I think this really should have come around the same time as glass ceilings. It would have made a lot of sense, would have made greenhouses easier, all that kind of stuff. Now, I feel like glass walls is probably more of a misnomer. I think we just need more full glass panes for walls. Like, basically, it's pretty easy to make a custom window for the game that doesn't have a frame. So there's no reason they couldn't just do that themselves and put that item in the game. So that's very possible. That'd be something that'd be awesome to see. It would make some cool builds as well. Also, it'd be super handy for shower screens, like building a custom shower. Speaking of which, no, I didn't see this mentioned. Someone probably mentioned it somewhere, but we just need a shower that just has the taps and the shower head, so we can just do a custom shower. I don't know why that's so difficult. Like, why is every shower in the game an enclosed pre-built item that isn't separate? Like, not every shower in the real world comes in a complete 1x1 unit. In fact, most of them don't even do that anymore. Most of the new ones that are built are just like a shower screen and the tap. Okay, I'm getting carried away. That's not even on the list, but I'm very passionate about it. I wish it was. Plain white doors. This is something that I know Deligracy talks about a lot. And it's something I would love as well. I don't really bring it up that often. The weird thing is we have the plain basic modern door in the game, but it only comes in like wood tones, a dark brown, like an orange, a light blue, but there's no black or white, like really basic wooden door. It's just such a strange omission that they wouldn't have that. And it's notable enough that you guys requested a plain white door in all of these comments and all of the suggestions as well. It seems like such a simple thing. Honestly, it is. Because I went back at one point and added a bunch of color swatches to existing doors in the base game. but for some reason missed half of them. But anyway, they could very easily add more color swatches to existing items. So I think that's something that's very possible to happen. I don't know how many times we have to request them to do it for it to happen, but it's really easy. Like, I can do it myself, but obviously then it's custom content. They can do it in like 5 minutes. Maybe not 5 minutes exactly, but they can do it pretty quick. Like, it won't take very long to just recolor it to black and white, you know? Just make it happen. Just do it. So the next one is more furniture customization. So this is relating to, obviously, color swatches, because every item essentially comes with, well, a set of color swatches. In previous games, Sims 3 and even Sims 2, mind you, from 2004, had the ability to change bed frames and bed sheets separately. 2004. We had that technology. When this game came out a decade after that, for some reason we lost that and we just no longer had that. Whatever the reason they combined the swatches, I don't know. But there's very simple solutions to this. Number one, either just provide more swatches, or number two, do what modders have done and just separate mattresses and bed frames. Like, you don't have to update all of the beds, okay? Just don't worry about that. Just provide a new bed. Actually, you don't even need to provide, you just provide a mattress and then a couple of different frames, and then we can just put it together ourselves. How great is that? Such a great idea. It's so easy. Just come on, man. Like, it's so frustrating when there's like a bed, you're like, oh, that bed sheet looks great, but then it comes with this awful like bed frame tone that you just can't change. I just don't understand it. It's the same thing that applies to chairs. In previous games, we could just, you know, color the cushion and the chair separately, etc. And kitchen cabinets. Oh my God, kitchen cabinets are one of the worst offenders of this as well. Along with beds, kitchen counters. If you could change the worktop and, you know, the main cabinet of them, then it would be so much better, because you get stuck with these combinations and you can't really do much with it. So you end up doing the same kitchen over and over again because there's not a lot of options. That one's a little bit more complicated, and I don't expect a lot to change in that department. All I would request for is when you make new kitchens, which number one, we don't have enough of anyway. When you make new ones, do lots of colors, because we need them. We need a lot of colors. Like when you added the one in Vampires and it had 3 colors, like, come on, like, you gave us a new kitchen with 3 colors. I'm not asking you to change everything that already exists. Just moving forward, there's ways to improve, areas to improve that very easily. Also, if you need to find more room to be able to add these kitchens, stop making toilets. We don't need more toilets. We're fine. I think I'm getting a little bit too passionate. I might tone it back a little bit, but yeah, I think you get the points that I was making. There's ways to sort of improve the stuff that we already have, and there's also ways to make things better moving forward. It's possible. And last but not least, in build mode, we got one more category after this as well. In build mode, we have spiral stairs, ladders, all that kind of stuff, you know, L-shaped, U-shaped stairs. Some of that stuff you can kind of do now that we have terrain editing. You can kind of make L-shaped and U-shaped stairs if you want. It's a little bit, it's not great though, but a proper system to be able to do it would be awesome. Spiral stairs would be amazing. Ladders, I think ladders would be great as well for just smaller spaces. There's so many applications to be able to use it in like a tiny home, or even just going up to an attic, having a ladder would be great. We are just so overdue for more stair options, even like diagonal stairs. I just don't understand to this point in the games, the whole franchise, that we just have never had diagonal stairs. Sure, I can probably understand the challenges, you know, maybe a decade ago, but surely in 2019, we have the technology to make diagonal stairs, right? I don't know, like, it'd be cool to see that. Diagonal stairs, spiral stairs, ladders, all of the stair paraphernalia. Just, we need more options. At the moment, we have stairs, and that's it. You know. So that concludes build mode. Last but not least, definitely not least, it was actually the most requested, and I think you might be able to guess what it is. University. Surprise, surprise. I feel like we've got every other majorly requested expansion pack already in The Sims 4. The last one left is University. And this is something that I'd be surprised if it doesn't show up in The Sims 4. It's got to come to this game at some point. Otherwise, people are just going to be like, where is it? Like, why aren't you making it? So I'm sure it'll come at some point. But within this, people requested some ideas to make it new and fresh as well. Because obviously, if you do the same pack over and over again, you kind of want something different next time round. Kind of like with cats and dogs, we had the ability to run a vet clinic and visit a vet clinic. So that was something new. So with University, people suggested the potential to have like professor as an interactive career. So, you know, something like being the detective or a scientist. So the professor would be a career that you would go to university, teach that way, and it would be more interactive in that sense. So you could either attend university or, you know, teach at university, which I think number one would make it way more useful, because I feel like university, I always had fun with it, maybe like once or twice, and then I never really wanted to go again. I think I had the most fun in The Sims 2 though. Sims 3, I don't think I used it that much. But that would definitely give it another use and a different application to approach it in a different way, which would be kind of cool. And then along with this, in this whole pack, it might even be something, you could even call this pack like The Sims for, I don't know, school, get to school. I don't know. Anyway, the people suggested, you know, joining kids and teens at school as well. Going that way, you can go to classes and do that kind of stuff. I think there's potential to do that. I don't know how much extra it would be to sort of adapt the university thing. Like, even if maybe it's not elementary school, maybe it's just high school. Because I feel like high school and university are more similar in terms of how they actually run in the real world, in terms of going to different classes at different times and you have like a timetable and schedule. So I feel like adapting that to work with high school and university could, you know, be like potentially possible. So that'd be pretty cool. I think there's some interesting ways to improve it. I think as far as this pack goes in actually happening one day, I'd be very surprised if it doesn't. If it's this year, I don't know. It might not be 2019, but it could be like a year down the line or something like that. Because I think last year they said there was 3 years of planned Sims 4 content. That doesn't mean in 3 years they're not doing any more. It just meant that they're already sort of roadmapped out where they want to be over that 3-year period. So we have at least 2 more years, assuming that started from last year. So we have at least 2019 and at least 2020 of Sims 4 content. So it could be this year, it could be next year. We don't know. But it'd be pretty highly likely that will happen. So those are the most requested items from you guys, what you guys want to see in The Sims coming up this year, whether all of this is this year or ever. I don't know. There's some things that are definitely more likely than others in that list. There's definitely ways that the game can improve and take feedback from this list. And there's definitely some things that I'm excited about in that list too. One thing I was surprised, actually, you know, I'm not surprised by this. No one, like, people did mention it. People did mention cars, but it wasn't really that popular, which I'm not surprised by. I think people that want cars, myself included, I want them. The reason I want it is it makes my builds feel more realistic. Obviously, people have cars and garages in the real world, especially a lot of houses come with garages generally. And driveways as well is a big thing. So for me, as someone that loves to build houses, it's a way of sort of making it more realistic, more like the real world. Like, it's a big part of people's lives. And it's also like something that we've had in previous games, so it's just so strange not to have it at the moment. Whether it comes or not, I don't know. It seems to be pretty much, it's a pretty heavy discussion of I really want cars or I don't want them at all and I don't care. It's kind of one way or the other with most people. But anyway, putting that aside, that wasn't really on this list. I just wanted to mention probably why it wasn't. That's it for this video. Let me know down below if there's some other things that weren't mentioned in this video that you really want to see. Let me know what you think about these items that were mentioned. And yeah, let's get a discussion about how to make The Sims 4 better. I think this year they can take some good feedback. I feel like they had some good feedback from last year. You know, there's some interesting things that came out, my first bet stuff. And I think they've had enough time now that that's all sort of been taken on board. And then this year is going to be mint, I hope. I hope in brackets. But yeah, thanks for watching, guys. I'll see you next time and have an awesome day.